For over 10 years, I programmed slot machines. I wrote the code that determined when they paid, how much they paid, and how they kept players engaged. I've been asked thousands of times, if you had to play slots, which machines would you actually choose? Today, I'm going to give you the honest answer. There are 7 specific signals I look for when I walk through a casino floor, signals that come from my years of programming these machines and understanding their mathematics. These aren't superstitions or lucky charms. These are technical indicators based on how slot machines are actually programmed to operate. Signal number 4 is something I discovered by accident during a quality assurance test, and when I brought it to management's attention, they told me to keep it quiet because too many players were starting to notice it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what I look for, why these signals matter, and how to spot them yourself. Let me be clear up front. These signals don't guarantee you'll win. Nothing can overcome the house edge in the long run. But they can help you find machines that give you a better mathematical chance and longer playing time with your bankroll. Let's start with the first signal I always check. The first signal I look for is what I call the denomination to traffic ratio. Here's what I mean by that. When I programmed machines, we had to set the RTP, the return to player percentage, based on several factors. One of the biggest factors was denomination. Higher denomination machines almost always have better RTPs than lower denomination machines. But here's the insider knowledge most players don't understand. The RTP also correlates with expected traffic patterns. Let me explain this from my experience.
A penny machine in a high-traffic area might be set to an 86% RTP because the casino knows it will get constant play regardless. The volume of players compensates for the lower hold percentage per player. But a dollar machine in a low-traffic area might be set to a 94% RTP because the casino needs to keep the few players who do sit there engaged for longer periods. They make their money through fewer players betting larger amounts rather than many players betting small amounts. So here's my signal. I look for higher denomination machines in areas of the casino that are not heavily trafficked. Specifically, I avoid dollar machines or $5 machines that are near the main entrance, near the cashier cage, or in the center of the floor where foot traffic is highest. Those machines are often set tighter because they get play based on convenience, not quality. Instead, I look for higher denomination machines near the edges of the slot floor, near the table game section, or in areas where serious gamblers would be. I'll give you a specific example from when I was still in the industry. I was reviewing performance data for a casino client, and I noticed that their dollar machines near the high-limit table games area were underperforming from the casino's perspective. The players weren't losing as much money as projected. When I analyzed the RTP settings, I discovered those machines were set at 95 to 96% RTP, significantly higher than the dollar machines near the main entrance, which were set at 89 to 90%. Why the difference? The casino wanted table game players to have positive experiences when they took breaks to play slots.
They didn't want them to lose quickly and return to the tables, so those machines were set loser. But most slot players never go near the high-limit table games area, so they never find these better machines. That's signal number 1. Higher denomination machines in lower traffic or unconventional areas often have better RTP settings. Look for dollar or higher machines near table games, near VIP check-in areas, or in quieter sections of the casino floor. Signal number 2 relates to the age and popularity of the game theme. This is counterintuitive, but it's based on casino floor management strategy. Here's what I learned from working with casino managers. When a brand new slot machine arrives with a hot license, like a popular TV show or movie, the casino pays a premium for that game. They pay higher licensing fees to the manufacturer, and they expect high player traffic because of the brand recognition.
Because of those higher costs and guaranteed traffic, new branded machines are often set with lower RTPs than you expect. I've seen Game of Thrones machines set at 86%, Wheel of Fortune set at 85 to 87%, and other major branded games set similarly low. The casino knows players will flock to these machines irregardless of the mathematics because they recognize and love the theme. Conversely, older game themes that are past their popularity peak are often set looser to maintain player interest. I remember working on updates for classic games like Double Diamond, Triple Diamond, and other mechanical reel games. The directive from casino clients was often to increase the RTP slightly to keep these games competitive with newer offerings.
A Double Diamond machine might be set at 92 to 94% RTP because the casino knows it won't attract players based on flashy graphics or brand recognition alone. Here's my signal. I actively avoid the newest, most heavily promoted slot machines, especially if they're based on popular licenses. That brand new Game of Thrones machine with the line of players waiting to play it? Probably set at a terrible RTP. Instead, I look for older game teams that are still on the floor but aren't heavily trafficked. Games with classic fruit symbols, older bonus mechanics, or teams that were popular 5 to 10 years ago. Let me give you a specific case. I was consulting for a casino that was considering removing their older Buffalo machines to make room for new games. Before the removal, they analyzed performance data. The older Buffalo machines were set at 91% RTP and were actually more profitable per square foot than some of the newer machines, set at 87% RTP. Why? Because serious players who understood slot mathematics sought out those older machines. The casino decided to keep them, but moved them to a less prominent location. If you're looking for better odds, that's exactly what you want to find. Older, proven game teams in less prominent floor positions. The casino is essentially offering you a better deal to keep those machines occupied, rather than removing them entirely. Signal number 2. Older game teams in quieter areas often have better RTPs than the newest branded machines everyone is lining up to play. Signal number 3 is something you can check before you insert a single dollar: the pay table structure. Most players never look at the pay table, and that's exactly what casinos count on.
But as someone who programmed these games, I can tell you that the pay table reveals critical information about the machine's volatility and overall design philosophy. Here's what I look for. First, I check the top award. If the top award on a machine is extremely large relative to the base game pays, that's a red flag for high volatility. For example, if the top award is 50,000 credits, but most of the other pays are under 100 credits, that machine is designed for extremely rare big hits. You'll likely go through long cold streaks waiting for features. I personally avoid these unless I have a large bankroll specifically allocated for high volatility play. Instead, I look for machines with more balanced pay tables. If the top award is, say, 1,000 to 5,000 credits, and there are several mid-tier pays in the 200 to 800 credit range, that indicates a medium volatility machine. These machines hit features more frequently and provide better sustainability for your bankroll. As a programmer, I preferred working on medium volatility games because the player experience was better. People won often enough to stay engaged without the frustration of high volatility cold streaks. Second, I look at the scatter or bonus symbol frequency. Some pay tables will tell you how many scatter symbols you need to trigger the bonus round. If it requires 4 or 5 scatters, that's going to be rare. I look for machines that trigger bonuses with 3 scatters, as those will hit more frequently. Now, frequent bonuses don't guarantee big pays, but they do mean you'll have more interactive gameplay and longer sessions with your money. Let me share a specific example. I was testing 2 different games in development.
Game A had a top award of 100,000 credits but required 5 bonus symbols to trigger the feature. Game B had a top award of 10,000 credits, but only required 3 bonus symbols to trigger. We ran simulation data on both. Game A's average player session was 38 minutes before bust. Game B's average session was 94 minutes before bust, with the same starting bankroll and bet size. Most players would be drawn to Game A because of that massive top award, but Game B provided more than twice the entertainment time. If I'm playing slots, I want my money to last. I want to experience features and have an engaging session. A massive top award that I'll statistically never hit doesn't provide value. Signal number 3. Look at the pay table before you play. Avoid machines with extremely top-heavy pay structures. Look for balanced pay tables with multiple mid-tier awards and low scatter requirements for bonus features. Signal number 4 is the one I mentioned at the beginning. This is about progressive jackpot meters, specifically the must-hit by progressives. During a quality assurance phase for a new progressive system, I discovered something interesting about the meter behavior that indicated when a jackpot was approaching its trigger point. Let me explain how must-hit by progressives work first. Some progressive jackpots are not randomly awarded. They're programmed to hit by a certain amount. For example, a minor progressive might be labeled as must hit by $500. This means that once the meter reaches $500, the game is guaranteed to award that jackpot before it goes higher. The actual trigger point is randomly selected somewhere between the starting value and the must-hit-by value.
Maybe it's set to trigger at $473 for that particular cycle. Here's what I discovered during testing. On certain progressive systems, the increment rate of the meter would slightly change as it approached the trigger point. Normally, the meter might increment by 1 cent for every $10 in coin in, but as it got closer to the trigger, the increment would slow down. It might change to 1 cent for every $12 or $15 in coin in. This was a programming quirk designed to extend the time before the jackpot hit, ensuring that enough players saw the high progressive amount and were attracted to play. When I brought this to the manufacturer's attention, suggesting we fix the inconsistent increment rate, I was told not to. The reason? Some observant players had figured out this pattern and were using it to identify progressives that were close to hitting. The manufacturer didn't want to draw more attention to it by issuing a patch that might be noticed. So, the behavior remained. Here's my signal. If you're going to play progressive machines, watch the meter for at least 5 minutes before sitting down. Not just the total amount, but how quickly it's incrementing. If you notice the meter incrementing slower than other similar machines nearby, that could indicate it's approaching its trigger point. This is most applicable to must-hit-by progressives in the minor and many categories, usually under $1,000. I want to be clear, this signal is subtle and doesn't guarantee anything. The jackpot trigger could still be $50 away, but if you're going to play progressives anyway, you might as well choose ones with behavioral indicators that they're cycling through their range.
I've personally observed this on several game series, though manufacturers have started to become more aware of players watching for these patterns. Signal number 4. On must-hit-by progressives, watch the meter increment rate. Slower increments near the must-hit-by value may indicate the jackpot is approaching its trigger. This was the signal management preferred I didn't publicize, but it's too useful to keep secret. Signal number 5 relates to tracking machines over time, specifically looking at the time since the last major payout. Now, I need to immediately clarify what I mean here because I don't want to reinforce the gambler's fallacy. Each spin on a slot machine is independent. A machine is not due to hit just because it hasn't paid in a while. That's not how RNGs work, and that's not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is a more nuanced observation based on casino floor psychology and management. Most modern slot machines have a display or sticker showing recent major wins. Last jackpot, $7,000 2 days ago, for example. Some casinos maintain digital displays showing recent big winners across all machines. I look at this information not because I think the machine is due, but because I'm assessing how casino management is likely handling that machine. Here's the insider knowledge. When a machine pays out a significant jackpot, casino floor managers often make adjustments not to the RTP, which would require regulatory approval, but to the denomination options or bet minimums. If a machine just paid out $15,000, management might increase the minimum bet from 50 cents to $1. Or they might remove the penny denomination option if it was a multi-denomination machine. This is done to recoup the loss more quickly from subsequent players.
Conversely, if a machine has gone weeks or months without a major jackpot, casino managers might lower the minimum bet or add more denomination options to attract more play to that machine. They want those machines generating revenue. A machine sitting empty because players perceive it as cold is lost profit for the casino. Here's my signal. I look for machines that show their last major payout was 3 to 6 weeks ago, not yesterday, which might indicate recent management adjustments to increase hold, and not 6 months ago, which might indicate a high volatility machine in a long hold streak. 3 to 6 weeks suggests the machine has cycled through normal play without extraordinary wins or losses, and management is less likely to have made player-unfriendly adjustments. Let me give you a concrete example. I was reviewing data for a bank of machines at a casino client. One machine had paid out a jackpot of $12,000 3 days prior. The casino raised the minimum bet from 75 cents to $1.50. Over the next week, that machine had 40% less play than the identical machines next to it. But players avoided it because they assumed it was cold after a big jackpot. In reality, the player-unfriendly adjustment was the bet minimum increase, not anything related to the machine's probability. Signal number 5. Check the last major payout information. I prefer machines that haven't hit recently, not because they're due, but because casino management is less likely to have made recent adjustments that disadvantage players. Signal number 6 is surprisingly simple but often overlooked: the physical condition of the machine itself. This signal is based on a correlation I observed between machine maintenance and performance settings. Well-maintained machines often indicated casinos that cared about the player experience, and those casinos tended to set better overall RTP settings. Let me explain the logic. Casinos that invest in regular maintenance, clean screens, functional buttons, and good lighting are casinos that view their slot floor as a premium product. These casinos compete on player experience, not just volume. In my consulting work, I noticed that casinos with high maintenance standards also tended to have better average RTPs across their floor. It wasn't a direct causal relationship, but more of a philosophical one. Management that cared about machine condition also tended to care about player satisfaction and return rates. Conversely, casinos with poorly maintained machines, dirty screens, sticky buttons, or burned-out lights were often cutting costs everywhere. That included setting tighter RTPs to compensate for lower player volume. These were casinos operating on thin margins, extracting maximum value from fewer players rather than creating an experience that encouraged return visits. Here's what I specifically look for. I check the machine's screen for clarity and cleanliness. I test the buttons to ensure they're responsive. I look at the chair to see if it's in good condition. I even glance at the carpet around the machine to see if it's stained or worn. These physical indicators tell me about the casino's overall priorities. If they can't be bothered to maintain the physical machines, I assume they're also not prioritizing player-friendly RTP settings. I'll give you a specific comparison. I consulted for 2 casinos in the same region. Casino A had immaculate machines, everything spotless and well-maintained. Their average slot floor RTP was 91.3%. Casino B had machines with dirty screens, some non-functional buttons, and general wear. Their average slot floor RTP was 87.8%. The difference wasn't coincidence.
It reflected 2 different management philosophies. Signal number 6. Assess the physical condition of the machine. Clean screens, functional buttons, good lighting and well-maintained chairs correlate with casinos that invest in player experience, and those casinos tend to set better RTPs. Avoid machines in poor physical condition, as they often indicate cost-cutting casinos with tighter settings overall. Signal number 7 is the most important, and it's entirely under your control, matching your bankroll to the machine's volatility. This isn't about finding a better machine, it's about choosing the right machine for your specific situation. As a programmer, I knew that the same machine could provide vastly different player experiences depending on how the player's bankroll matched the game's volatility. Here's the mathematical reality. A high-volatility machine with huge potential payouts requires a large bankroll to survive the inevitable cold streaks. If you have a $200 bankroll and you sit at a high-volatility game betting $5 per spin, you're mathematically likely to bust before experiencing any significant feature. You'll have a terrible experience and conclude the machine is tight, when in reality, you just didn't have the bankroll to play that volatility level. Conversely, a low-volatility machine with frequent small pays is perfect for smaller bankrolls. If you have that same $200, but you play a low-volatility game at $1 per spin, you'll likely get multiple bonus rounds, extended playtime, and a much more satisfying experience. You probably won't win a massive jackpot, but you'll get entertainment value for your money. My signal? I honestly assess my bankroll for the session, not my total available money, but the amount I'm specifically allocating to this gambling session. Then I choose machine volatility based on a simple formula.
For every $100 of bankroll, I look for machines where the bonus trigger frequency allows me to experience at least 3 to 5 bonus rounds before my bankroll is statistically exhausted. This typically means low to medium volatility machines for most casual players. Let me give you my personal approach. If I walk into a casino with $300 I'm willing to gamble, I'm looking for machines where I can bet $1 to $2 per spin, where bonus rounds trigger approximately once every 80 to 120 spins, and where those bonuses pay on average 30 to 60 times my bet. That gives me a mathematical expectation of extended play with multiple bonus experiences. I completely avoid machines with top awards of 50,000 credits or more, as those are high-volatility games that will eat my bankroll quickly. Signal number 7. Match your bankroll to machine volatility. Small bankroll equals low-volatility machines with frequent features. Large bankroll equals you can afford higher volatility for bigger potential wins. This match is more important than any other signal, because playing the wrong volatility for your bankroll guarantees a bad experience regardless of the machine's quality. Those are the 7 insider signals I use when I walk through a casino floor. To recap quickly: denomination to traffic ratio, game theme age, pay table structure, progressive meter behavior, time since last payout, physical machine condition, and bankroll to volatility matching. These signals don't guarantee wins. Let me be absolutely clear about that. Slot machines have a house edge, and over time, that edge will extract value from your bankroll. These signals just help you find machines that offer better mathematics, longer playtime, and more enjoyable experiences.
But I want to close with something more important than signals. After 10 years programming these machines, I left the industry because I couldn't reconcile what I knew with what I saw happening to players. I watched people lose life-changing amounts of money on machines I helped create. I saw the psychological manipulation built into every spin, every sound, every celebration, and I realized that the best signal of all is knowing when to walk away. If you're going to play slots, do it with money you can genuinely afford to lose. Set a strict limit before you start and stick to it no matter what. Use these 7 signals to find better machines, but don't ever believe that you found a system to beat the house edge. You haven't.
I program these machines, and I'm telling you, the math always wins for the casino over time. These signals might help you lose more slowly, enjoy your time more, and occasionally catch a good run, but they're not magic. They're just educated observations from someone who spent a decade inside the industry. Use them wisely, play responsibly, and remember that the most important signal is your own self-control. If this video helped you understand how to evaluate slot machines more intelligently, leave a comment letting me know which signal surprised you most. Was it the progressive meter behavior? The denomination to traffic ratio? Let me know. Hit the like button if you want more insider knowledge about how casinos really work. And subscribe because my next video is going to expose the 7 biggest slot myths that casinos actually encourage you to believe. You'll be shocked when you hear number 4.
Stay informed, stay skeptical, and remember, the best way to pick a winning machine is to not play at all. But if you're going to play, at least play smart.